Hey everybody, welcome back to my layout. This video will be a layout update for May 2021. Let's take a look at what's new on the layout. First thing we'll look at is some new rolling stock. These are recently released tangent scale models, Pullman Standard PS-2 4750 cubic foot covered hoppers. Really nice cars from Tangent. Let's do a quick roll by here and have a close look at them. So they're all the same run, the same style of car, just a few different paint schemes that I got. These first two are the Procor or UNPX. Just beautiful cars from Tangent. Not much to say about those cars other than they are like flawless. They're really heavy too. That's another thing I like about the Tangent cars. They're just like solid. They feel like they're really solidly built. You compare those to the Intermountain car that's similar to these 4750s. The Tangents are like way heavier. I'm really happy that Tangent did another run of these with some different paint schemes, and I can add a few more of these to my 2010 era grain trains. So that's it for new rolling stock. We'll roll this thing out of the way and take a look at what's new on the layout. And the very first thing is station progress. So I've been working away on this thing. I've got the bottom level here, the walls, pretty much done. I got a couple joints I still have to make to put the whole thing together. But so there's a bit more broadside view. And you can see like the operator station protrudes out of the wall, so that's why it's got more light on it, just like this little HVAC or vent or whatever that thing is, as well as you can see the sun casting a shadow on the addition there. So when I took these photos, the sun was just starting to go up the wall, so the whole wall was still in shadow, and I thought that was better than catching it, you know, when the sun is starting to come up or 1 or 2 feet on the rocks there. So there's the view from straight on, and you can see got the shadows lined up over here, so that looks right. And these are all different prints. You got to remember, each basically 2D rectangle of the wall is a separate print, and the operator station, I got that one a lot better than I did last layout update video when I was showing you guys how I was trying to figure that out. But I got it nailed down now, and the key was printing it all as one and then wrapping it around that kind of octagon shape of that operator station. It's really finicky to get this right, and a ton of time spent on the computer, you know, scaling the walls up and cloning stuff and photoshopping it. You can see put a car on the main line there next to it for reference, because this wall is not actually that big compared to a train, and you know, we want the trains to be illuminated. The trains are the centerpiece. The station, the backdrop, everything is the background. So I think when you put a train there and you see it fully illuminated, then you got that shadow kind of shaded building behind there. That looks awesome. So one thing you'll notice differently than the prints that I had in the first one too, I completely went back and redid them all, because my photos, the awning, you know, it came down to about here, and then it was just cut off, and then you had this bright red edge of that awning all the way along, because that thing was fully lit because it's hanging out over. I went and put them together, and I started assembling the station, and I realized when I started just kind of mocking up a few roof pieces that my roof wasn't going to come down far enough. Like the roof does overhang a bit, like at an angle, and covers up that top, but if you were at track level, like I like to shoot videos all the time, and if you were kind of looking up in the station, almost if you were at a HO scale figures height, you'd be able to see all that. So I had to go back to the drawing board, and I went back through every single image, and I basically photoshopped out that awning. So everything above basically this line here where my finger is all 100% cloned from different images or off the same image, and I photoshopped another, additional HO scale, say 2 or 3 feet. A lot of people familiar with the station will know there's an old chalkboard that's got Canadian Pacific and script and eastbound, westbound. It's where they used to write, like where the actual passenger trains were coming in and the expected times and stuff. And this is mounted on what's the chimney. So the fireplace in the inside is on the other side of this, and then the chimney rises up. So I've even got that on there now, which I photoshopped onto this image. You can't really see it on the camera, but in person you can just faintly see the Canadian Pacific right at the very top, just like on the real thing, which is super cool. So if we pop back up kind of to normal person level, this is what it looks like right now. Like I said, I still have to attach the really long section of the station to the shorter, more complicated section. I've left it unjoined here for now because it's really important to be able to square it. I can slide these 2 walls forward and back and make sure I get everything squared up, and then that'll lock in the final shape of the first floor footprint. I can just spin this around for you guys so you can see what the other side looks like. So this is the other side, which would be the front. This is or what I call the town side. And just like the other side, you got to use your imagination, because it just looks wrong right now without that great big 6-foot awning hanging out over it. So you have to just kind of imagine what that's going to look like. But when that's there, then the shadow will make sense that's going along there. And you notice this side's a lot brighter, and that's because this is on the town side, and it actually catches some pretty good sunlight in the morning. So I was able to get better photos of this side. Still work in progress. I just glued this one last night, so I still haven't even trimmed off the excess paper, so that's why it looks a little rough there. And I go in after too and paint all the edges. And I can see right now there's one thing I'll have to fix. This reflection in this door is too bright compared to the other doors. So what I'll do is I'll clone the windows off this onto this guy here and just tone that glass down on that door so that it looks like the other ones, and then it'll look a lot better. So I'll just show you a couple things here on my work desk that I'm using when I'm cutting these things. Like I said, many different revisions I've gone through already when making these, and you can see I kept a few here just to show you guys kind of the progression. So this is the one that I was showing you last month when I just had first started doing it, and I was trying to Photoshop 3 images onto that operator station, and then when I actually put the thing on there, it looked terrible. So I went back to the drawing board and I resized this so that the whole thing could wrap right around that, and you can see how many revisions I did until I got it right. And you can see the awning was still on these ones. So that's the earliest one here at the top. Then kind of a later revision with the wrapping, but the awning's in the way there. And then a few more times trying to get the size right. And then the final version, you can see I removed that awning and I increased the wall height artificially. And that's the one that ended up on there. Railway west end of the station, 2013 of the station. Had this really awesome Banff sign on there. I really like that part of the station. Then they took it away and when they did a reno on the station around 2018, I think. So this was a better photo, of course, than this one. This one's got a nice shadow on it. There's a lot more things lit and more detail. You can see there, like just tons of detail, and you get that shadowing from the concrete washed rock, all that stonework on the front of the station. So I like that photo, but I wanted to have that Banff sign. So what I did was I used the clone tool in Corel Draw, and I took that sign and I put it on my earlier era photo. And that looked pretty good, but then I realized that the awning had to go. So you can see in the last version, I extended the height of these supports, and I created, another 2 or 3 feet of artificial kind of wall. And that's what the final version looks like. So you can see this is a progression, and you have to put it on the walls and actually try it and see what it looks like. It doesn't look like quite right, it gets ripped off. And all I'm doing is glue them on with a little glue stick. So they come off pretty easy. Right now I'm on version 8. I think I've printed it 8 times now, and I'll probably have 1 or 2 more before I'm done. So that's where I'm at with the station. You can see it's coming along slowly. It takes a lot of time to build this thing, and it's such a huge structure. I just can't believe how big this train station is. Like 4 feet long in HO scale. It's just a massive building in real life. And it was all to do with the amount of tourism that they had coming into Banff, you know, around 1910 when this thing was designed and built. You know, this end from the operator station all the way to the back, which is 2/3 the length of it, was all baggage, because there'd be so much baggage from these highfalutin people who were coming on the train to vacation in the town of Banff. That's what kind of warranted this massive building at the time. And you can see it's really starting to kind of set the scene. You got the ice house now and the speeder shed behind there, which is really cool. And now the station, which is the centerpiece of all the buildings on this section, this 30-foot section of the layout. You know, this thing's going to be right in the middle and right front and center when you walk down here. Alright, so besides the station, I did get a little bit more done on the crossing here at Mount Norquay Road. I thought long and hard about how I want this thing to control, because it is a crossing circuit, but it's kind of unique that trains have to stop at the station sometimes at Banff. In the 80s, it would have been the Via Pascha trains making actual station stops. But even now, Banff is an active passing siding for CP, so you know there's 40 trains a day through here. And this is a place that they'll meet trains sometimes. So, you know, sometimes you'll have either a train sitting on the passing siding or even on the main line and getting scooped by a train on the passing siding. And that's all fine and dandy, but it messes up your crossing control because those trains will often be sitting on the far sensor. So what I've done here is I've added a couple of rocker switches. What these rocker switches will do is if you have a train you want, say Via's coming in for a station stop at the station, you can engage this rocker switch and it'll disable that one sensor, so the crossing gates won't go off when that train comes to do its station stop. And then when you're ready to go, all you got to do, so then the engine would be sitting down here waiting at the signal, all you have to do is just shut this off, lines the circuit back up, and then you have your crossing gates will go off. So there's one for the main line and one for the passing siding. And then I also thought it'd be cool to put a power switch in here. So this is just wired to the power supply to the circuit board. So if for whatever reason you don't want the crossing gates on, or you're tired of listening to them, or just whatever, you've got a power switch here where you can just basically disable the whole crossing. It's really subtle. I'll probably have to shut the layout lights off here if you even see it. Oh yeah, you can see it. These are the switches I used. They're made by Cole Hersey. Show the SKU there. I just got these from my local electronics store. This is whatever brand they carry. I think it's a pretty generic rocker switch, single pole. Let's jump down here underneath the layout quick to look at the back side of those rocker switches. You see they aren't wired up yet, but the power one is, so I soldered these, and those are going to the Logic Rail Technologies controllers. So that's the Grade Crossing Pro 2 and then the expander, because I'm running an additional passing track there. And the power supply I used over here, you can see it, this guy right here, just an old one that I kept around. It was from like a JVC like handheld camcorder, and I put my meter on it. It was 8.4 volts, which is perfect for the Logic Rail stuff. So that's what I'm using. So it just goes to a plug-in here, and that's what's going to power the crossing circuits, the lights, the photocells, and the tortoise for the gate arms. So that's it for progress on the layout over the past month. That catches us up to today. Sneak peek for next month. This is something I've been working on the side. Burning the candle from four ends, as usual. See if you guys can guess what this is. I'm putting a ESU Log Sound V5 on it. Just haven't got to putting the speaker on it. And I'm going to try something new. I ran out of iPhone 4 speakers, so I needed something else, and I was having trouble finding the iPhone 4 because they're so old now. And then I was just Googling, like, what's the best cell phone speaker there on the market today, or tablet speaker. And it was pretty consistent that the Samsung Galaxy S20 is the primo speaker out of all devices. So that's what I got. I ordered a few of these off eBay, and they are they're not too expensive actually. They're about $6 or $7 each. And I'm going to try these out because this is actually fit in the shell of an HO scale locomotive really good. I'm hoping that this will even outperform the iPhone 4 ones that I did, and those things sound awesome. So we'll see what that Galaxy S20 speaker sounds like once it's got full throttle and ESU lock sound in it. So hopefully I'll have that thing done for next month. We'll see if you guys can guess what it is. And the last thing we'll do is check in on the tree count before I let you guys go. So we are at 465 trees now. As of May, what's today? 21st. 465 trees. Alright, that's going to wrap up today's video. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.